Wow, it looks just like the games! For about 2 minutes before Sonic is transported to the real world, 3 years later, Mario did it the smart way by taking a page out of the Mario movie, the original Mario movie from 1993. By transporting the character from our world to the Mushroom Kingdom, the movie becomes a visual feast that can ride on nostalgia. Sonic the Hedgehog instead challenges itself by mostly dispensing with nostalgia. It moves him to the real world, where he's the only colorful character aside from Robotnik. It starts with a classic, Sonic is getting chased by Robotnik, freeze frame, you're probably wondering how I got here. It's a cliche, and the movie is filled with them. It's all presented as a wink-wink. Yes, it's a trope, but we're making fun of it. We're like Deadpool, but more family-friendly. The only problem is that Sonic doesn't just leave out Deadpool's cursing, but also the punchlines. So a lot of the tropes are just that. Tropes. But seriously, how did Sonic get here? It all started with this. Then the internet did something good for once and saved the Sonic movie. Or did they? That'll be for the algorithm to decide. I'm about to recap the movie, and as I go, this meter will appear to add or subtract points whenever the movie does something good or bad. By the end, we'll have a precise score, and this movie will be officially submitted to The Ranking, an ongoing project to rank every movie ever created. So the real story begins when Sonic was just a little hoglet. Yes, that's the word for a young hedgehog. Look it up. And he is a fast hoglet. So fast, his caretaker, an owl named Longclaw, warns him that he needs to remain hidden. If others found out about his power, they'd want it for themselves. Of course, the careless Sonic does get found out, and they do show up, wielding nets and arrows. It is no longer safe for Sonic to remain here on this world, so Longclaw uses a ring to open a portal to Earth, and sends Sonic on his way with more rings, should he ever need to move worlds again. 10 years later, the Hedgehog is living in a cave in the small town of Green Hills, Montana. He staves off loneliness by spying on the townsfolk and pretending they're his family, especially his favorite, local sheriff Tom Wachowski. But one night, the loneliness gets to him, and Sonic lets off some steam by doing what he does best. Going fast. He runs so fast, he accidentally releases an electromagnetic pulse that knocks out power across the entire Pacific Northwest. What does that mean for hospitals, traffic lights, and other services sure to be disrupted and sure to cause fatalities? Let's not talk about that. Instead, let's talk about this. The algorithm. Where are we at? Hey, not a bad score, especially if you look at the bar set by previous video game movies. Honestly, not being absolutely abysmal puts this movie in the top 5 already, but that's like saying getting punched in the stomach is better than getting punched in the face. It's true, but it still killed Houdini, though reevaluation through modern medicine reveals that might not be true, which means we all owe the man who punched him, J. Gordon Whitehead, an apology. At the same time, why are you going around sucker punching people? But if you look at the original affidavit given to the Commissioner of the Superior Court of Montreal, he claims the magician gave him permission. Why am I talking about this? Why this score? Great opening Sega logo that tugs on that sweet, sweet nostalgia. Ben Schwartz perfectly represents Sonic's personality with an energetic and positive vibe. And he's just fun to watch, especially when the movie leans on his speed, watching him play ping pong or baseball against himself.
Hit it to the guy in left. He's a real space case.
Ugh, I can't with that guy.
But aside from some fun vibes, the movie so far has little else to offer. The world building is pretty abysmal. We spend so little time on Sonic's planet, you don't get any feel for where he comes from or what he's missing by leaving. Who is this owl? I like that the people coming after him are Echidna, setting up the idea of Knuckles. But in the context of this movie, I can't help but feel like, with their nets and sticks, they aren't much of a threat to a hoglet, with super speed. Going to Earth, a place filled with guns and bombs, feels like a downgrade. Why not hop into a portal to the next town over? It feels like a bit of an overreaction to, at the first sign of trouble, throw your adoptive son into a portal and send him to another planet. Unless she wanted to get rid of him. Maybe she's tried this before. Oh no, I think they saw you. You'd better go to that mushroom planet. I don't see anyone, Mom. No, I'm telling you, there was a kid in there or something. They definitely saw you. Yeah, better hop into that portal and never contact me again, you little brat, you piece of... What was that, Longclaw? What? No, nothing. The movie dispenses with Sonic's more colorful and exciting world in a matter of only a couple of minutes. By contrast, the real world is a lot more bland. Not helping matters are the human characters, devoid of anything resembling personality, especially next to a far more entertaining animated hedgehog. Tom is a small-town cop who got the job in San Francisco where he'll get to test himself against real crime. Nobody cares. Why is this in a Sonic movie? And while Sonic is fun, notice I stopped short of saying fun-y, because the humor is really hit or miss. Ha! He hit his face with a speed gun accidentally. Ha! Officer Wade is stupid.
I'm actually on a yacht in Barbados with Rihanna.
OMG.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The movie is in desperate need of some real humor and personality. Sounds like a job for Jim Carrey. Watching a room full of Pentagon stiffs discussing Dr. Robotnik with a straight face is a lot of fun. And Jim Carrey's entrance, tearing this guy apart for no reason, is genuinely funny.
Allow me to clarify. In a sequentially ranked hierarchy based on level of critical importance, the disparity between us is too vast to quantify.
Though the attempts at appealing to today's youth with their parlance are pretty lame, or cringe, as the kids say these days.
Agent Stone?
The doctor thinks you're basic.
I also don't think that's what basic means. Anyway, Robotnik, with help from his army of drones, finds a peculiar footprint. Wait a minute, drones? All those drone sightings in New Jersey lately? Could it be? Seeing the drones, Sonic rushes back to his cave. It's just like in the last world. He's been found out, and it's time to run. Time to go to the other safe haven Longclaw told him about. A world filled with breathable air and mushrooms, but little else. It'll be lonely, but safe. The hedgehog packs his things, but he's surrounded. Good thing it only takes like 2 seconds to open a portal, as we've seen, but instead, because of reasons, Sonic takes the bag of rings and runs off to find a safe place to open the portal. Tom, meanwhile, calls his wife in San Francisco, who is staying with his sister there to scout potential homes for their upcoming move. Brought to you by Zillow.
Hey, what are those?
Apartments for rent I found on Zillow.
Blatant product placement might be a necessity of the modern film industry, but the algorithm isn't buying it. There's also this joke, which supposedly isn't product placement, which almost makes it worse because it might be forgivable if the movie at least got paid for it.
The only apps on my phone are the ones that came with it. In the Olive Garden.
Because when you're there,
Your family.
Haha, Olive Garden. He said the thing from the commercial. Tom's sister-in-law hates him, by the way.
Divorce.
Why? I assume because this dynamic has been funny in other things, like in sitcoms. A lot of the times, the wife's sister isn't a fan of the husband, which creates an awkward situation ripe for comedy. Only this movie forgets the com part of sitcom, and even the sit part makes little sense. Tom's sole character traits are kindness and ambition. There's literally nothing else to him except that sometimes he talks to donuts. How could anyone not like him?
Doesn't like you? How could anyone not like you?
I know, it seems impossible.
But seriously, it makes no sense that she hates him so much, and it isn't funny. But you know what is funny? When a person is so surprised, it surprises the person who surprised them. Confused? I'm talking about this. Sonic is on the run, so he goes to Tom's place. Tom yells when he spots him, and then Sonic is so startled by Tom yelling that he himself yells. Shocked by the strange creature, Tom shoots him with a tranquilizer dart. The dazed hedgehog reads San Francisco off Tom's shirt, then drops his ring, which opens a portal to whatever place you have in mind. So, San Francisco it is. Before passing out, Sonic drops the bag of rings through that portal, and it ends up on the Transamerica Pyramid. By the time Sonic comes to, Robotnik is pulling up outside. The hedgehog begs Tom's help. After all, he's the one who got Sonic into this mess by shooting him with that tranq. Tom knows he's right, so when the evil scientist knocks on his door, he plays dumb. Even when Robotnik sticks a killer drone in his face and counts down from 5, he doesn't give up the little guy. Of course, Sonic isn't about to watch his first friend in 10 years die, so he jumps out from hiding, and Tom takes advantage of the distraction to punch Robotnik in the face. Working together, they take out the drone, hop in Tom's pickup, and hit the road for San Francisco to get Sonic back his rings. Though Robotnik does not leave empty-handed, because in the house, he found one of Sonic's quills. So that's the plot of this movie. Sonic accidentally dropped his rings and needs to get them back. Considering his super speed, the movie should be over in about 2 minutes, but thankfully, Sonic put all his stat points into speed and left nothing for intelligence. He tries running to San Francisco through the ocean, which was kind of funny actually, just how quickly the plan fails. But it does really lower the stakes of this movie because it's really hard to ignore that if Sonic were willing to follow a few simple street directions, follow some signs, or get his hands on a tom-tom, the whole plot could be resolved in seconds. There's no sense of urgency or danger. You could argue the movie isn't really about plot. It's just having fun with Sonic the Hedgehog, but the algorithm accounts for that. Because if all the jokes were landing, that score would be a lot higher. Personally, I might even argue the score is a tad generous right now, because for every joke that lands, like when Tom gets confused about Robotnik's name and calls him Dr. Robotskis, for every banger like that, there's one of these.
Hopefully I'm going to wake up in a hospital bed and the doctor's going to tell me that my colonoscopy was a big success.
Colonoscopies, am I right? Hilarious. No, they aren't funny. And if you're 45 or older, you should go get one. Maybe even sooner if you're at a higher risk. Though I will say, Robotnik's gloves are pretty cool, and the machine gun firing drones were unexpectedly violent, especially in contrast to the movie's lighter tone. On their way to San Francisco, Tom stops off to give Wade a call from a payphone. Only Robotnik already got to Wade. He grabs the phone himself and promises to find Tom and Sonic soon. Meanwhile, Sonic spots the coolest thing he's ever seen, a biker bar. Given it's Sonic's last night on Earth, Tom lets him stay for a bit and even teaches him about bucket lists. The list of things you want to do before you kick the bucket.
I've never kicked a bucket either. Oh, I gotta make my list.
That night, Sonic crosses every conceivable thing he can off that list, at least whatever's achievable within the confines of the bar. But before long, a couple of guys threaten to beat them up, because around here, they don't take kindly to hipsters. Hipsters? See, that's the caliber of joke we're dealing with here. The bucket thing was kind of funny. The hipster thing just doesn't make sense. But no movement from the algorithm. I guess we can call it a tie. With his super speed, Sonic easily beats everyone who picks a fight with them, and even wraps a couple of guys in toilet paper. Seeing him do the moving so fast everyone else is in slow motion thing is fun. By the time this movie came out, we'd already seen this trick a couple of times before in X-Men Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, but it hadn't worn out yet. That wouldn't happen until The Flash in 2023, but this time, it's still kind of fun. After that, they hole up in a motel room, where Tom sees one item on the Hedgehog's list he hasn't crossed out yet. Make a real friend. That might eke out a couple of points on the meter if the algorithm had a heart. Because, come on, that's sad. The little guy just wants a friend, and Tom has been nothing but a jerk to him all this time. Actually, that's not true, and that's kind of the problem. It's not inherently satisfying to watch a couple of people become friends. It usually only makes the big screen when there's some kind of obstacle in the way, like in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Steve Martin and John Candy's characters were so different. It was hard to imagine they could ever get along. Things got tough, they were at each other's throats, and so when they finally came together, it was satisfying. But Tom and Sonic's journey starts with them already getting along pretty well. Tom might have been mildly annoyed a few times, but generally, they seem to enjoy each other's company. And as for Sonic himself, we only get a couple of glimpses at his loneliness, but otherwise, the movie never really sells how badly he needs company. If the movie had spent more time with Sonic and the owl so we could understand what he was leaving behind, and then spent time sitting with a sad, lonely Sonic, these dramatic moments would land better. There's also a joke regarding flatulence, which it doesn't even feel like the movie finds funny. Sonic just lets one slip and Tom is like, come on, man. It honestly felt more sad than anything else. The next morning, it's back on the road, but danger is not far behind. Some light interrogation at the biker bar reveals to Robotnik where Tom and Sonic are heading. As for those two, things are rocky, because the Hedgehog has a question. What's on your bucket list? Tom's answer is a disappointment. He wants to leave Green Hills for San Francisco, where he'll get real experience as a cop. He'll get to prove himself. Sonic is shocked. Why would he leave Green Hills and all those people who need him behind? This argument quickly becomes the least of their problems when Robotnik catches up to them. They survive the initial attack, and Sonic celebrates by doing the floss dance. Robotnik reveals more tricks up his sleeve, various robotics and drones. They do their best, but in the end, Sonic is taken out by an explosion. He still breathes, but he needs medical attention fast. As for Robotnik, he threw everything he had at them and needs to recuperate. Then he remembers something, that quill he found at Tom's place. From it, he could harness some of Sonic's seemingly endless energy. We finally get to see some real Sonic action here, and it's pretty good. It's exciting every time he rolls into a ball like in the games. There's also a fun element to it where each time they defeat one of Robotnik's machines, a smaller one comes out of it. The truck becomes a smaller vehicle, which becomes almost a scooter, and finally, a little bug-like drone, then just a small sticky bomb that no matter how hard they try, they cannot get rid of it. This was a funny addition that made the action a little less generic. After that, Tom rushes Sonic to his wife's sister's place, and I don't know if you remember, but she really hates him. And I definitely know you don't remember that his wife is a vet, because it was mentioned in only one line earlier in the movie. I'm sure they added that in so it would make sense that Tom would bring the wounded Sonic here so they could get him in the same house as his sister-in-law, so hilarity could ensue. The setup is that she hates him. And the punchline is that she hates him. It is hilarious, and they tie her up so she'll stop getting in the way, which was less funny than satisfying, but she could still speak, so the quote-unquote joke that she hates him kept going. If the movie is about having fun with Sonic the Hedgehog, any scenes without him, or scenes where he's unconscious, are not good. At least it's broken up by some cutaways to Robotnik where he extracts from that quill the unlimited energy he needs to upgrade his robots. Boring, right? No, because he's dancing the whole time. Tom's wife, she's a vet, wakes up Sonic with some smelling salts, and noticing his ripped up shoes and socks, her niece gives him some new shoes, matching the classic ones. Yeah, no points for that because the origins are kind of lame. They head to the building, get inside. There are some more jokes, some hit, some miss. It's all baked into the score already.
What were you keeping in this bag? A jar of pickled farts?
Okay, now it's all baked in. They get the rings, and Sonic prepares to throw one, but he doesn't want to go. He hesitates, giving Robotnik the extra seconds he needs to arrive with his drones. Sonic calls him Eggman. Game reference feels a little out of left field, but I guess you could argue the drones kind of look like eggs. Okay, we'll allow it. Speaking of drones, they prepare to attack, and Sonic knows exactly what to do. He pushes Tom and Maddie off the side of the building. That gets them out of the way of danger, and with his super speed, Sonic will be able to stop Robotnik, then save them before they pancake on the streets below. The drones launch their missiles. Cut to slow-mo, and Sonic does the foot-tapping thing from the games. Yes! Sonic attacks with his usual cockiness, but the Eggman uses his newly acquired power to join him in slow-mo. That catches the Hedgehog off guard. He's flung off the building out of slow-mo and back into normal-mo. Tom and Maddie are about to go splat, until Sonic grabs a ring and teleports them back to Green Hills just in time. Another fun action scene, with a moment of real danger and a clever resolution using the quill to grab a ring. Nothing amazing, but the sort of fun action the movie could use more of. Now a chase through the city. The "you're probably wondering how I got here" moment. But we're no longer wondering because now we know. The only question left is what happens next. Using the rings, the chase leaves the streets of San Francisco to run past various worldwide landmarks. A cool visual. They end up back in Green Hills, where Tom lends a hand, but Robotnik gets the upper hand, until the townsfolk who we've come to know and love lend their hands. Except we've barely even seen them aside from Wade and Crazy Carl, who I didn't even bother to mention, but he's the one guy in town who's spotted Sonic in the past. By the way, if Sonic needed a friend that bad, why not the guy who already knows he exists? I've heard beggars can't be choosers. But to be fair, I don't know if I'd want to be friends with Crazy Carl, but seriously, this all feels like a payoff to a setup that was never there. We've hardly heard from these townsfolk or seen Tom interact with them, so it's not heartwarming or crowd-pleasing when the people Tom has always helped finally help him. It's not like Groundhog Day, where the town really has a personality to it. You get to know the locals. Bill Murray doesn't appreciate them at first, and then by the end, he loves them. It's a pretty anticlimactic wrap-up to the journey. Anyway, Sonic actually got pretty badly hurt. No one checks on him, but they all assume he's dead for some reason and start doing improvised eulogies. When Tom calls him friend, that re-energizes him. Now, that power he discovered when he ran too fast at the baseball field, he harnesses it with intent. He takes the power back from that quill Robotnik stole. Then, with Tom's help, sends the Eggman on a trip to another planet, a place with breathable air, mushrooms, and not much else. In the aftermath, Tom offers Sonic a high five, and he is so excited. The movie slows down, happy music plays. Again, payoff without setup. They're acting like Sonic has been waiting for this the whole movie, as if he's tried to high-five Tom a bunch of times and he never reciprocates. But finally now, yes, he offers the high five. I get that it's meant to be symbolic, like we're officially friends now, but high fives are just too casual. People high five each other all the time. Sometimes people high five people they barely know in the right situation. Hell, if everyone I high fived was my friend, I'd have friends. It's a weird moment. Followed by another one. Tom decides he's staying in Green Hills after all. The movie plays it really sentimentally, like that was definitely the right move. And he was wrong to think about leaving for San Francisco. It's a weird lesson. Don't be ambitious. If even one person is going to miss you, you should stay for them. That's more important than following your dreams and passions. That definitely won't lead to resentment between you two. Superbad lied to you. But Superbad did not lie. Sometimes you have to accept that growth means physical separation, but it doesn't have to mean the end of friendship. Sorry, Sonic. Algorithm, do your thing. The epilogue starts with a piano cover of some classic Sonic music. Then a government official arrives with a token of appreciation for Tom and Maddie keeping quiet about their alien visitor. That token of appreciation turns out to be a gift card to Olive Garden. They said Olive Garden again. And they surprise Sonic with his new cave, their attic. The little guy will be moving in. A happy ending for some. Robotnik, on the other hand, has been stranded in Mushroom Land for 87 days. His hold on sanity is tenuous at best, but he is intent on finding a way home, and he has help. Sonic's quill. He's also looking more and more like the original Dr. Robotnik from the games. Then the end credits. Love the game-inspired pixel art recreating scenes from the movie. Hate the song. It should have been something from the games. And in the post-credits, Tails shows up, looking for Sonic. So here's the final score, firmly placing Sonic as one of the best video game adaptations of all time. If you disagree with any of the takes in this video, feel free to leave a comment, but do not direct them at me. The scores are all the decision of the objective ranking algorithm. I am merely the interpreter, a vessel for the algorithm. In fact, I love this movie. I disagree with this score wholeheartedly. It should be double. And I look forward to reviewing Sonic 2 and 3. Stay tuned for more.